Hey you, the night is alive. It sings and settles, and I am right beside you, laying on the deck or on the roof or in the grass, looking at the stars, feeling the cool breeze and your closeness. I open the book and turn the page of A Wizard of Earthsea. And we find ourselves at chapter 6, Hunted. As soon as Pendor had sunk under the sea rim behind him, Jed, looking eastward, felt the fear of the shadow come into his heart again. And it was hard to turn from the bright danger of the dragons to that formless, hopeless horror. He let the mage winds drop and sailed on with the world's wind, for there was no desire for speed in him now. He had no clear plan even of what he should do. He must run, as the dragon had said. But where? To Roke, he thought, since there at least he would be protected and might find counsel among the wise. First, however, he must come to Low Torning once more and tell his tale to the Islemen. When word went out that he had returned, 5 days from his setting forth, they and half the people of the township came rowing and running to gather around him, to stare at him and listen. He told his tale, and one man said, "But who saw this wonder of dragons slain and dragons baffled? What if he—" "Be still," the headman said roughly, for he knew, as did most of them, that a wizard may have subtle ways of telling the truth, and may keep the truth to himself, but that if he says a thing, the thing is as he says, for that is his mastery. So they wondered, and began to feel that their fear was lifted from them, and then they began to rejoice. They pressed around their young wizard, and asked for the tale again. More islanders came, and asked for it again. By nightfall he no longer had to tell it. They could do it for him, better. Already the village chanters had fitted it to an old tune, and they were singing Song of the Sparrowhawk. Bonfires are burning not only on the Isles of Low Torning, but in townships to the south and east. Fishermen shouted the news from boat to boat, from isle to isle it went. Evil is averted, the dragons will never again come from Pendor. That night, that one night, was joyous for Jed. No shadow could come near him through the brightness of those fires of thanksgiving that burned on every hill and beach, through the circles of laughing dancers that ringed about him, singing his praise, swinging their torches in the gusty autumn night, so that sparks rose thick and bright and brief upon the wind. The next day he met with Petchbury, who said, I did not know you were so mighty, my lord." There was fear in that, because he had dared make Jed his friend, but there was reproach in it also. Jed had not saved a little child, though he had slain dragons. After that, Jed felt afresh the unease and impatience that had driven him to Pendor, and drove him now from Low Torning. The next day, though they would have kept him gladly the rest of his life to praise and boast of, he left the house on the hill, with no baggage but his books, his staff, and the otok riding on his shoulder. He went in a rowboat with a couple of young fishermen of Low Torning, who wanted the honor of being his boatman. Always as they rowed on among the craft, Always as they rode on among the craft that crowded the eastern channels of the 90 Isles, under the windows and balconies of houses that leaned out over the water, past gone, the malodorous oil sheds of Geith. Word of his deed had gone ahead of him. They whistled the song of the sparrowhawk as he went. They vied to have him spend the night and tell his dragon tale. When at last he came to Serd, the ship's master of whom he asked passage out to Roke bowed as he answered, "A privilege to me, Lord Wizard, and an honor to my ship." So Jed turned his back on the 90 Isles. But even as the ship turned from Serd inner port and raised sail, a wind came up hard from the east against her. It was strange, for the wintry sky was clear, and the weather had seemed settled, mild that morning. It was only 30 miles from Serd to Roke, and they sailed on. And when the wind still rose, they still sailed on. The little ship, like most traders of the inmost sea, bore the high fore and aft sail that could be turned to catch a headwind, and her master was a handy seaman, proud of his skill. So, tacking now north, now south, they worked eastward. Clouds and rain came up on the wind, which veered and gusted so wildly that there was considerable danger of the ship jibbing. "Lord Sparrowhawk," said the ship's master to the young man, whom he had beside him in the place of honor in the stern, though small dignity could be kept up under that wind and rain that wet them all to the miserable sleekness in their sodden cloaks. "Lord Sparrowhawk, might you say a word to this wind, maybe? How near are we to Roke?" "Better than halfway, but we've made no headway all this past hour, sir." Jed spoke to the wind. It blew less hard, and for a while they went on fairly enough. Then suddenly great gusts came whistling out of the south, and meeting these they were driven back westward again. The clouds broke and boiled in the sky, and the ship's master roared out ragefully, "This fool's gale blows all at once, all ways at once. Only a mage wind will get us through this weather, Lord." Jed looked glum at that, but the ship and her men were in danger for him, so he raised up the mage wind into her sail, and at once the ship began to cleave straight to the east, and the ship's master began to look cheerful again. But little by little, though Jed kept up the spell, the mage wind slackened, growing feebler, until the ship seemed to hang still on the waves for a minute, her sail drooping amid all the tumult of rain and gale. Then, with a thunder crack, the boom came swinging round, and she jibed and jumped northward like a scared cat. Jed grabbed hold of a stanchion, for she lay almost over on her side, and shouted, "Turn back to Serd, master." The master cursed and shouted that he would not. "A wizard aboard? And I the best seaman of the trade? And this is the handiest ship I ever sailed? Turn back?" Then the ship turned again, almost as if a whirlpool had caught her keel. So he too grabbed hold of the stern post to keep aboard, and Jed said to him, "Leave me at Serd and sail where you like. It's not against your ship this wind blows, but against me." "Against you, a wizard of Roke?" "Have you never heard of the Roke wind, master? Aye, that keeps off evil powers from the Isle of the Wise. But what has that to do with you, a dragon tamer?" "That is between me and my shadow," answered Jed shortly, as a wizard will, and he said no more as they went swiftly, with the steady wind and under clearing skies, back over the sea to Serd. There was a heaviness and a dread in his heart as he went up from the wharves of Serd. The days were shortening into winter, and dusk came soon. With dusk, Jed's uneasiness always grew, and now the turning of each street seemed a threat to him, and he had to steel himself not to keep looking back over his shoulder at what might be coming behind him. He went to the sea house of Serd, where travelers and merchants ate together of good fare provided by the township, and might sleep in the long raftered hall. Such is the hospitality of the thriving islands of the inmost sea. I'll leave you there, under the stars of your sleep, as I hope you're sleeping now. And I will weave into your dreams the thoughts of those places, and perhaps that future in which you have such a community, where your friends and family sleep on blankets and pillows and soft spaces in the same house, a clan, a tribe, a different place, the one your heart craves. Good night, my river.